Morning, everybody. My name is Maggie Nesbihal, and today I'll be talking about emerging law firms and how they can navigate crowded corporate service markets. So, first and foremost, what is corporate law? Corporate law is essentially the body of laws regarding the rules and regulations that govern the formation and operation of corporations. Corporation, which we've discussed over the course of the term, being a legal entity that exists to conduct business. So essentially, corporate law is the body of law that regulates legal entities that exist to conduct business. Essentially, and boiling it all down here, corporate law is business law, if you will. Now, how is the industry structured? Well, the industry is structured into firms. A law firm would be a business entity formed by one or more lawyers who wish to engage in group practice. A lawyer or attorney serves as legal counsel and representation on behalf of a client or party, while lawyers can work in a variety of specializations of law, encompassing practice areas such as real estate, criminal proceedings, and corporate litigation. The majority are employed by legal firms, private corporations, or government agencies. So oftentimes, individual lawyers and the firms in which they operate will practice or have experience with a variety of specializations. With regards to private practice law, the work of a lawyer often begins when a client hires the firm itself, to provide advice on their rights and responsibilities, especially in business. Now, because firms often offer many services, including advising clients with regards to their legal services and responsibilities, their business transactions and other matter that require legal assistance, the structure of a firm is often tailored to the firm's size and scope of practice, which can vary greatly across the industry. By and large, though, firms tend to have a hierarchical organizational structure. As with any product or service, legal services, which can be costly, are marketed toward a highly specialized target demographic of business owners in our case, because we're talking about corporate litigation and corporate law. And these people would require expert counsel on whatever their matters of legal trouble may be. In order to understand how emerging firms can navigate crowded markets, we should probably understand the nature of competition in these markets first and foremost. Now, it can be a little tricky because the nature of competition takes two different forms, if you will. First and foremost being monopolistic competition. Now, in the legal industry, firms tend to offer similar, though not identical services. However, this means that they engage in monopolistic competition. According to Edward Chamberlain, and I'm quoting here, human beings, as by their nature diverse, as well as spatially separated, these facts in themselves should lead entrepreneurs appealing to those different demands with heterogeneous products. However, product heterogeneity is rare among monopolistically competitive markets, resulting in a lack of diverse products. And we can sort of see how this unfolds in the legal industry. Nonetheless, there is also a sense of oligopolistic competition in the private legal field. There are certainly a handful rather, of highly prestigious, long-standing firms, and these firms are huge, and we'll talk about this a little later as well. But generally, the field tends to favor a small number of well-established firms rather than new and emerging smaller operations, and government initiatives can and have helped catalyze small business emergence, especially in recent years, making viability easier and reducing compliance costs. And this starts around 1992. You can see it in the SEC report, and this initiative certainly has continued, but it is still very difficult for emerging firms to navigate competitive markets, especially crowded markets. We're going to dive right in here to titans of the industry, and I am a little in the way. I apologize. But like I said, there are firms that have been around for decades, and they're huge, thousands of lawyers across a number of countries and what have you. For our purposes, I have chosen to explain and share with you the largest firms by revenue founded or based in the United States, but generally across the world. I believe these are the biggest firms. So Kirkland and Ellis and Latham and Watkins LLP. We've talked about LLCs in this class. LLPs essentially refer to limited liability partnerships, professional type partnerships in which partners share limited personal liability for debts and damages, very similar to an LLC. Kirkland and Ellis would be recognized as the #1 firm in Law 360's 2021 list of prestigious leaders. And they serve corporate clients across the corporate and taxation, litigation, intellectual property, and restructuring fields. So they have a very, as different as those services sound, it's a very niche market. A lot of lawyers bringing in a lot of revenue, and they've been open for decades upon decades. Same with Latham Watkins. They boast a wider range of services, including activism, entertainment and media, real estate, and white-collar defense law. But being based in LA, you can kind of see why those services appeal to that market. And so they would be ranked second in revenue. And they were founded, again, not as long ago, but around, they're well established. They've been around for a while. They have more lawyers, but they also offer a wider range of services. And I did not include this on here, but they operate in 15 countries across the globe. Some minor technical difficulties with getting this to display properly, but we're just going to keep rolling here. So with budding and emerging firms, there tend to be high failure rates, and this is across the industry. But according to the 2021 LexisNexis Interaction Marketing and Business Development Survey, which is highly informative because it comes from legal professionals who are working in budding firms or very small law firms comprising of only a few lawyers versus a practice group of thousands. So legal professionals talking about the 5 challenges that their firms are facing. And a lot of these firms tend to go under or struggle financially to remain viable. And so I found this survey to be very informative in pinpointing some of the pitfalls of budding firms. #1 being competition, ranking 33.7%, or #1. Lack of follow-up on business development activities, which was reported by 29.1% of respondents. Obtaining lawyer participation at 22.1%. Lack of business development training for lawyers at 18%. And no long-term firm strategy at 16.3%. Now, to quote the consultant team from Law Firm Suites, if a budding firm is up against too many competitors, especially ones that have been in the business for years, it could set the practice up for failure. And that is exactly what we're talking about. So this begs the ultimate question: how have industry leaders sustained growth and promoted firm viability in the face of intense competition and volatile market forces? What are the keys to success here? Well, in viewing the industry from a business development standpoint, budding firms should focus on the following. #1 being niche development and specialization, and #2 is something we like to call the client experience. First, we'll be talking about #1, niche development and service differentiation, which can be seen as a business development approach. So we're trying to look for a tailored fit here. We're trying to meet a highly specialized need or demand. Specialization of services and packages, differentiation from competitors in style and approach. For example, if I opened a firm and we placed a greater emphasis on virtual relations or virtual documents or virtual, even interorganizational relations, that is something that sets us apart. A lot of law firms tend to be pen to paper. A lot of it is very antiquated. So something that is stylistically different and can set you apart from competitors. Next thing, when it comes to niche specialization, would be gearing services toward a target market. And this is something we touched on a little earlier in the presentation. But customers and consumer groups of a pointed demographic can help you not only tailor your marketing, but tailor your services to fill a specific need. And selling the firm, essentially referring to marketing again, would be like branding the firm as something stylistically different and something that offers more than a competitor can, or something more tailored to a specific demographic that fills a specific need. Moving forward, cultivating an attitude centric to the client experience. What is the client experience? Client experience can be seen as a business development strategy. Essentially, the client experience is the need for and to prioritize client-lawyer relationships. As a business development strategy, ensuring client satisfaction promotes loyalty and retention, which, as we know from our business course, is less expensive than acquiring new clients and employee turnover, all these sorts of things, not just client lawyer relations, but interrelations and in-house as well are crucial to the success of especially a budding firm. But investing in interparty relations is critical here. So how can we do this? We can develop metric driven growth departments, cultivate a client-friendly virtual interface, or even just an attitude more geared toward client relations and maintaining those client relations, because that tends to be where budding firms fall short. Now, we can also hire in-house client relationship executives or CREs. So these people will, their tasks will be to cultivate this attitude of the client experience and to manage client relations. So this in itself, if you want to tie back to niche development, can be something that sets your firm apart or is stylistically different than the very large, very crowded firms like Kirkland and Ellis, who have thousands of clients and handle large accounts and have thousands of lawyers and are spread out across the country. It is important to make the client feel heard and seen. And so that is another way we can invest in and cultivate an attitude centric to the client experience. Key takeaways. It is clear that a real need exists for budding firms to ensure competitiveness against weathered adversaries, such as Latham and Watkins, Kirkland and Ellis, and all the other very large firms that rake in billions of dollars a year. Now, obviously, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. All firms are different. They offer different services, have different scopes of practice and size. However, by understanding the nature of competition, pinpointing common pitfalls, and viewing the legal field from a business development standpoint, we can develop niche differentiation and specialization and invest in client satisfaction and retention as a start here to promote viability and growth. There are so many other ways this can be achieved, but first and foremost, if you don't differentiate your services or maintain client loyalty, those are going to be your biggest pitfalls, especially as a budding firm. Thank you.